Welcome back to another Vintage City Group session, and wanted to share with you tonight out of Proverbs chapter 10. We're going to be in verse 6. Verse 6 says this: "The godly are showered with blessings, evil people cover up their harmful intentions." The godly are showered with blessings, and evil people cover up their harmful intentions. Before we do that, I want to remind you about next Wednesday night. We'll be gathered at 7 o'clock at the building to pray. And I'm excited for that. I'm excited for what I'm seeing, just the systematic culture of the people of God coming together to cry out and pray and get into a rhythm together. I think that's what's been on my heart the most for us as a church, is to settle into a rhythm. And I want to present this idea. I think it's important that we settle into a rhythm as a church, because I believe the Lord wants to pour out a pretty significant growth curve on us, and having a life cycle and having a rhythm makes it easy for people to come in and just invest into that and become part of it. It's almost the idea of, if we viewed the church as a river, having and our life pattern, our life cycle as the current. We want to create a current that makes it easy for people just to jump in and go. For me, that looks like being in a city group, being diligent to pray, coming together on Sundays, just that repetition of that. There's just something that I think is really powerful about it. So, think that through. All right, tonight in verse 6, I want to dive in and consider what some of these things mean. I want to look at some words here and look at the subject. And the subject is the results of our life choices. Solomon's dealing with just a simple reality that our life choices carry results with them. The godly here, the righteous, those who live by God's plan, they are the correct people, the ones that are living right. Evil people are those that are violent, wicked, guilty of violence against God's plan. Have we ever considered that, a simple phrase, that to not follow God is akin to being violent towards His plan, to tearing it down? It's an interesting thought that comes out when you look at that word. Showered is blessings coming over the whole man. It is very much the same concept as a shower for us. Our basement bathroom, I installed one of those rain head showers for my son, because he's really tall and it's hard for him to get underneath, and now the shower can come over his head. And it's that same concept here, that it starts at the top and it showers over us. The phrase cover here, evil people cover up their harmful intentions, is to conceal or be stopped up by something, which is an interesting point. I want to make some applications for us and kind of flesh this out. Life choices have results. The consequence of a godly life, catch that, the consequence of a godly life is the blessing of God on the whole person. Consider the implications of this. We choose Him and He blesses us. It's so simple and so effective. My choice is Jesus. My choice is to follow Him. My choice is to live as He has said, which is the fear of the Lord. His choice in response to that is to pour out blessing. The reciprocal option, like we've studied before, that law of reciprocity, looking at the opposite, is that those who choose to violate God's plan are actually living out a curse on themselves. And here's what this means. This is so interesting as I was studying this. The choices they are making will bring them to silence. That's what it means to cover up. The English doesn't render this very well. The English makes it look more like they're hiding what they're trying to do, and that's just not what comes out in the Hebrew. And the implication which is not mentioned in this is the mouth. So I want us to consider the mouth for a second. Our mouths become a place for us to declare the faithfulness and the goodness of God. They become a place of origin for rejoicing. And any life pattern contrary to the ways of the Lord will result in a person with nothing to praise about. They'll stand in silence, dumbfounded by the results of their lives. Horrified may be a better way to say it. All the while, they witness the results of godly people and their choices. And there's a promise of blessing, in fact, manifest blessing over the whole man, just on simple obedience. The fear of the Lord is our greatest opportunity. The fear of the Lord, living life the way the Lord's called us to, is just a doorway to blessing. I want us to really understand, we have a Father that loves us and He is good and wants to bless us. It's not an if. He's just simply laid it out into our hands as an opportunity. And He said, the consequence if you live the way I said is blessing. And I love looking at it that way. that I can draw the blessing of the Lord into my life just by simply obeying. Love you guys. Have a great night.